Get serious. Life is serious. Life is not a rehearsal. It is not a game you can restart when you feel ready. Every breath you take is time spent, and time never comes back. If you are waiting for the right moment, wake up. This is it, right now. Life is serious because your choices shape your destiny. Every day you either move forward or fall behind. There is no standing still. Comfort weakens you. Excuses drain your power. Discipline builds strength, and responsibility sharpens the mind. Life is serious because every choice you make is a vote for the person you are becoming, whether you are aware of it or not. Most people underestimate how powerful their daily decisions are because they seem small and ordinary. What time you wake up, how you respond to pressure, what you do when no one is watching, these moments quietly shape your character. You are not defined by one dramatic event, but by patterns repeated over time. When you avoid responsibility, you train yourself to be weak. When you face difficulty directly, you sharpen your strength. Life does not care about your intentions, it responds only to your actions. Many people live as if time is unlimited, as if tomorrow is guaranteed, as if they can fix everything later. This mindset creates laziness, distraction, and wasted potential. Every hour that passes is a piece of your life spent forever. You either invest it or lose it. Serious people understand that discipline is not punishment, it is protection. It protects your future from the mistakes of the present. Without discipline, emotions take control, and emotional decisions often lead to regret. With discipline, even hard paths become clear and manageable. Responsibility is the moment you stop pointing outward and start looking inward. Blaming circumstances, people, or luck may feel comforting, but it removes your power. When you accept responsibility, you regain control. Even when life is unfair, your response is still your responsibility. Pain is unavoidable, but suffering through helplessness is optional. Strong individuals accept reality as it is and then work with it, not against it. They do not wait for motivation. They rely on structure, routine, and commitment. Your mind must be trained just like your body. If you allow negative thoughts to run freely, they will weaken you from the inside. Serious living requires mental discipline, choosing focus over distraction, clarity over chaos, patience over impulse. The world constantly pulls your attention in meaningless directions, and if you do not guard it, you will wake up years later wondering where your time went. Attention is life energy. Where you place it determines what grows. Comfort is one of the greatest dangers to growth. When life becomes too easy, you stop developing. Challenge forces adaptation, and adaptation creates strength. Struggle is not a sign that something is wrong, it is a sign that something is forming. Avoiding discomfort may bring temporary. Life becomes solid. Progress is often quiet and slow, but it is unstoppable when effort is steady. Every day is a test of whether you respect your own potential or ignore it, whether you move forward with awareness or drift through routine without intention. Discipline is the bridge between intention and reality, and without it, even the strongest desires collapse under pressure. Many people believe motivation is the key, but motivation is unstable. It rises and falls with mood, comfort, and circumstance. Discipline remains when motivation disappears. It is the ability to act despite resistance, fatigue, boredom, or fear. When you rely on discipline, you stop negotiating with your excuses. You do what must be done because it must be done, not because you feel like it. Daily habits are the hidden architecture of your life. You may not see their impact immediately, but over time they define your strength, your confidence, and your direction. Waking up with intention, training your relief, but it builds long-term weakness. Facing discomfort builds confidence, self-respect, and inner stability. Serious people do not chase pleasure as a goal. They chase mastery, knowing that fulfillment follows effort. Consistency is what separates those who talk from those who become. Big dreams mean nothing without small, repeated actions. You do not rise to your goals, you fall to your habits. When your habits are careless, your life becomes chaotic. When your habits are disciplined, your body organizing your day, controlling what you consume mentally and physically. These are not dramatic actions, yet they are powerful. A life without structure slowly collapses into chaos. When days lack order, the mind becomes scattered, energy weakens, and purpose fades. Structure creates freedom by removing unnecessary decisions and conserving mental energy for what truly matters. Training the body is not about appearance, it is about discipline, resilience, and self-respect. Physical effort teaches the mind how to endure discomfort without quitting. When your body is weak, your mind often follows movement, sharpens focus, releases tension, and builds confidence rooted in capability rather than ego. Each time you push past physical resistance, you remind yourself that limits are often imagined. This strength carries into every area of life, shaping how you face stress, conflict, and responsibility. Mental discipline is equally demanding. The mind left untrained seeks distraction, comfort, and instant gratification. It avoids silence and struggles with focus. Training the mind means learning to sit with discomfort, to observe thoughts without obeying them, to choose clarity over impulse. It requires reducing noise, limiting unnecessary stimulation, and practicing stillness. When the mind is disciplined, emotions no longer control actions. You respond instead of react. You think instead of panic. You remain steady while others collapse under pressure. Consistency builds identity. When you repeatedly show up for yourself, you begin to trust yourself. Self-trust is one of the most powerful forces a person can have. Without it, confidence is fragile and easily shaken. With it, even uncertainty becomes manageable. Every disciplined action is a promise kept, and every promise kept strengthens your inner foundation. Over time, this foundation becomes unshakable, not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger. Discipline also teaches patience, a quality rare in a world obsessed with speed and shortcuts. Real progress takes time, and impatience causes people to quit just before results appear. Serious individuals understand that growth is often invisible before it becomes obvious. They continue working in silence, trusting the process even when rewards are delayed. They are not distracted by comparison, praise, or criticism. Their focus remains on daily execution, knowing that mastery is built through repetition, correction, and persistence, day after day, action after action, regardless of mood or external recognition. Responsibility is the moment you stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and start recognizing yourself as the source of change. It is uncomfortable because it removes all excuses. Once you accept responsibility, you can no longer hide behind bad luck, unfair conditions, or other people's mistakes. This is why many avoid it. Blame feels lighter than ownership, even though it keeps you stuck. Responsibility is heavy, but it gives strength. When you carry it, you gain control over your direction, your reactions, and your growth. Taking responsibility does not mean life has been fair or kind. It means you understand that fairness is irrelevant to progress. Reality does not adjust itself to your expectations. Serious people do not waste energy arguing with how things should have been. They focus on what can be done now. Complaining may release emotion, but it never builds solutions. Responsibility shifts your focus from emotion to action, from frustration to strategy. The moment you ask, "What can I do about this?" you step into power. Living in the present is a critical part of responsibility. The past no longer exists except as memory, and the future exists only as imagination. When you cling to past mistakes, you relive pain without gaining wisdom. When you obsess over the future, you create fear without preparation. Responsibility anchors you in the present moment, where action is possible. What you do today determines whether the past repeats itself and whether the future improves. Awareness of the present sharpens decision-making and reduces unnecessary suffering. Emotional responsibility is often ignored but deeply important. You may not control what happens to you, but you control how you respond. Reacting impulsively gives your emotions authority over your life. Responding consciously keeps authority within yourself. This requires patience, observation, and restraint. It means allowing emotions to exist without letting them dictate behavior. Anger does not need to become aggression. Fear does not need to become avoidance. When emotions are managed, they become information instead of obstacles. Responsibility also means setting boundaries with yourself. You must be honest about your weaknesses without excusing them. Avoiding accountability delays growth. Self-respect is built by facing flaws directly and working on them daily. This process is slow and often lonely, but it develops inner stability. When you rely on external validation, your confidence fluctuates. When you rely on self-responsibility, your confidence becomes steady because it is based on effort, not approval. Time management is another form of responsibility. Wasting time is not harmless. It is a silent form of self-betrayal. Every hour ignored is an opportunity lost. Serious individuals treat time as a non-renewable resource. They plan, prioritize, and protect it. They understand that rest is necessary, but escapism is dangerous. Intentional rest restores energy. Mindless distraction drains it. Responsibility teaches you the difference and demands honesty about how you spend your days. Responsibility is not about being harsh with yourself, it is about being real. It requires courage to admit when you are wrong, when you are avoiding effort, when you are settling for less than your capacity. This honesty builds clarity, and clarity builds momentum. As responsibility becomes a habit, life becomes simpler, not easier, but clearer. You know what must be done, you know why it matters, and you move forward without waiting for permission, certainty, or comfort. The mind is the battlefield where most lives are won or lost, long before any visible action takes place. If the mind is undisciplined, scattered, and reactive, even talent and opportunity will be wasted. Thoughts shape perception, perception shapes decisions, and decisions shape destiny. Many people allow their minds to be influenced by every external voice, every opinion, every distraction, without realizing they are surrendering control. A serious life requires mental authority, the ability to choose what deserves attention and what must be ignored. An untrained mind seeks comfort and avoids silence. It fills empty moments with noise, scrolling, entertainment, and constant stimulation. This creates mental weakness, reducing the ability to focus, reflect, and endure boredom. Focus is a muscle, and like any muscle, it weakens without use. When focus weakens, procrastination grows, goals feel overwhelming, and clarity disappears. Training the mind means learning to stay present with one task, one thought, one moment, without escaping into distraction. This practice builds precision and strength. Negative thinking is another silent enemy. Doubt, fear, and self-criticism often appear automatically, shaped by past experiences and conditioning. The problem is not that these thoughts arise, but that people believe them without question. Mental discipline means observing thoughts rather than obeying them. Just because a thought exists does not mean it is true or useful. When you learn to challenge destructive thinking, you regain control over your internal environment. Confidence grows not from blind positivity, but from clarity and self-awareness. Emotional regulation is closely tied to mental discipline. Strong emotions can cloud judgment and lead to impulsive actions that create long-term consequences. When emotions take control, logic disappears. Training the mind allows space between feeling and action. In that space, choice exists. Instead of reacting, you respond. Instead of escalating conflict, you remain composed. This composure is not weakness, it is mastery. It allows you to act in alignment with your values rather than your temporary emotions. Mental discipline also requires reducing unnecessary mental clutter. Consuming endless information without reflection creates confusion rather than intelligence. A serious person is selective about what they read, watch, and listen to. Quality input shapes quality thinking. Silence becomes a tool rather than something to fear. In silence, thoughts organize, priorities become clear, and insight develops. Without moments of stillness, the mind remains reactive, always responding but never leading. Visualization and intention further strengthen the mind. When you clearly imagine the person you aim to become and the standards you refuse to compromise, your mind begins to align behavior with that image. This is not fantasy, it is direction. The mind needs direction to function effectively. Without it, it drifts toward habits formed by convenience and comfort. With direction, even difficult actions feel meaningful because they serve a larger purpose. Consistency in mental training is essential. One moment of awareness does not undo years of conditioning. Progress comes through daily practice, reflection, focus, restraint, and intentional thought. Over time, the mind becomes calmer, sharper, and more reliable. Decisions become clearer. Pressure becomes manageable. Challenges become opportunities for application rather than reasons for collapse. A disciplined mind does not eliminate difficulty, but it prevents chaos, allowing strength, clarity, and control to emerge steadily from within. Comfort is one of the most subtle and dangerous traps because it feels harmless while slowly eroding potential. It convinces you that avoiding difficulty is smart, that staying where things are easy is safety. In reality, comfort creates stagnation. When there is no challenge, there is no demand to grow, and without growth, strength fades. Muscles weaken when they are not used, and the same principle applies to the mind and character. A comfortable life may feel peaceful on the surface, but underneath it often hides fear of effort, fear of failure, and fear of discomfort. Growth begins the moment comfort ends. Discomfort signals that you are stepping beyond what is familiar, and familiarity is not the same as progress. Every meaningful improvement in life requires adaptation, and adaptation is uncomfortable by nature. learning a new skill, building discipline, facing responsibility, or correcting flaws all create resistance. That resistance is not a warning sign, it is evidence that change is occurring. When you consistently avoid discomfort, you train yourself to retreat at the first sign of challenge, and this habit spreads into every area of life. Comfort weakens decision-making. When ease becomes the priority, choices are guided by short-term relief instead of long-term benefit. This leads to procrastination, overindulgence, and excuses that sound reasonable but lead nowhere. The mind begins to justify inaction, convincing you that effort can wait, that conditions must be perfect, or that tomorrow will be better. Over time, this mindset creates regret, not because opportunities never appeared, but because they were avoided in favor of comfort. Facing discomfort builds resilience. Each time you choose the harder path, you expand your capacity to endure pressure. This endurance becomes confidence rooted in experience, not hope. You begin to trust yourself because you have proven that you can persist when things are difficult. This self-trust is stable because it is earned. It does not disappear when conditions change. Comfort, on the other hand, creates fragile confidence that collapses when challenged. Discomfort also sharpens awareness. When things are easy, attention dulls and habits run on autopilot. When things are difficult, focus increases. You become more present, more alert, more intentional. This heightened awareness improves problem-solving and decision-making. Struggle forces reflection, adaptation, and learning. Without it, mistakes repeat because nothing interrupts routine. There is a difference between rest and comfort. Rest is intentional recovery that supports growth. Comfort is avoidance disguised as self-care. Knowing the difference requires honesty. Rest prepares you to face challenges again. Comfort delays facing them at all. Serious individuals rest with purpose and return to effort with discipline. They do not live in constant strain, but they also do not escape responsibility through ease. Choosing discomfort does not mean seeking suffering for its own sake. It means accepting difficulty as part of a meaningful life. It means training when it would be easier to stop, speaking truth when silence feels safer, and committing to standards even when no one is watching. Over time, discomfort becomes familiar, and what once felt hard becomes normal. This shift changes identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who avoids difficulty and begin to see yourself as someone who can handle it. As comfort loses its control, freedom increases. You are no longer governed by mood, convenience, or fear of effort. You act based on values rather than feelings. This freedom is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet and steady. It shows in consistency, composure, and the ability to move forward regardless of conditions, knowing that growth lives on the other side of resistance and that strength is built each time discomfort is faced rather than avoided. Consistency is the force that turns effort into identity and intention into reality. Many people believe success comes from intense moments of inspiration or sudden breakthroughs, but real transformation is built through repetition. What you do once may impress, but what you do daily defines you. Consistent action, even when small, compounds over time into results that appear extraordinary to those who were not paying attention. This process is slow, often invisible, and frequently underestimated, which is why so few commit to it. The mind often resists consistency because it craves novelty and immediate reward. Repetition can feel boring and boredom tempts people to quit. Yet boredom is not a sign of failure, it is a sign that discipline is being tested. When you continue despite boredom, you separate yourself from those who rely on excitement to move forward. Consistency requires patience and the willingness to work without constant validation. Progress often happens beneath the surface before it becomes visible, and quitting early prevents you from ever seeing the results of your effort. Habits are built through consistency, not intensity. A single extreme effort followed by long periods of inactivity creates imbalance and burnout. Steady effort creates sustainability. When actions are repeated daily, they become automatic, reducing the need for motivation. This automation is powerful because it allows progress even on difficult days. You do not have to feel strong to act strong when habits are in place. The structure carries you forward when energy is low. Consistency builds trust within yourself. Every time you keep a commitment, no matter how small, you reinforce the belief that you are reliable. This self-trust strengthens confidence more than praise or external approval ever could. Without consistency, confidence becomes fragile, dependent on outcomes rather than effort. With consistency, confidence becomes stable because it is rooted in behavior you control. You know you will show up because you have proven it repeatedly. Setbacks are inevitable, and consistency does not mean perfection. It means returning to the path quickly after deviation. Missing one day does not destroy progress. Quitting does. Serious individuals do not allow temporary failure to become permanent. They adjust, learn, and continue. This resilience keeps momentum alive. Consistency teaches you to view challenges as part of the process rather than reasons to stop. Time amplifies consistent behavior. What seems insignificant in the short term becomes powerful in the long term. Small improvements repeated daily create massive change over months and years. This principle applies to skills, health, mindset, and character. Inconsistency creates cycles of hope and disappointment. Consistency creates momentum and direction. When momentum builds, effort feels lighter because progress reinforces commitment. Consistency also simplifies decision-making. When actions are routine, you waste less energy debating whether to act. The decision has already been made. This reduces mental fatigue and increases focus. Life becomes clearer when daily actions align with long-term values. Distractions lose power because priorities are defined through behavior, not intention. Through consistency, identity shifts. You no longer try to be disciplined, focused, or strong. You simply act that way because it has become normal. This identity change is the most powerful outcome of consistency. Behavior shapes belief, and belief reinforces behavior. Over time, effort transforms into character, and discipline becomes a natural expression of who you are, rather than something you struggle to maintain.